Hello there, you're watching All 24 News, World News program live from Algiers. These are today's headlines. President Tebboune stresses that Algeria is targeted from all sides and it refuses submissiveness. Also ahead in our news, more than 87 Nigerian voters headed to voting centers to elect their next president amid numerous struggles in the country. Also coming up, U.S. President Joe Biden affirms that Western allies are not providing F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine for the moment. Peru recalls its ambassador in Mexico indefinitely after the Mexican president said Peru's government was unconstitutional. We will find out the story later on. Hello again and welcome to the program. First off in our news, Algerian President Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune revealed that Algeria is being targeted from all sides because it is a country that does not accept submissiveness, which disturbs many, stressing that Algeria is exposed to destabilization attempts every 5 to 10 years. Here's Zahra Farjani with more.
During his periodic encounter with national media, Algerian head of state Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune spoke about foreign attempts aimed at undermining Algeria's stability because of its firm political stances and diplomatic and ideological choices that it built with all sovereignty away from submissiveness.
الجزائر مستهدفة من كل الجوانب لأنها دولة ما تحبش الانبطاح والمواطن الجزائري ما يحبش الانبطاح والمواطن الجزائري يفتخر بدولته لما تمشي رأسها مرفوع ما بين الأمم هذا الشيء ما يساعدهمش.
According to the president, these plans are implemented by enemies who mobilize certain people who chose foreign embassies over their own country or through the mobilization of some NGOs, but in reality they are the creation of intelligence agencies that seek disorder in the country.
الطابور الخامس موجود والأدلة راهم شافوها المواطنين بعينيهم خبرجية وخبرجيات وما نعرفواش ولائهم لبعض السفارات أكثر من ولائهم للشهداء ولا للوطن هذا. اليوم اللي ما قدرش يواجهك مباشرة يخلق لك ONG بوكو دو كثير من المنظمات غير الحكومية تابعة مخابرات والإنسان الذكي والعاقل يشوف التدخلات نتاعها. أنا تدخل لي على فلان وفلان خبرجي في فلسطين 10 موتى 15 موتى في النهار يوميا وراك تشوف لما يرمي عليه النار يضربوا في الراس 90% ينبال dans la tête c'est-à-dire il tire pour tuer ما تهدرش.
President Tebboune confirmed that Algeria is indeed exposed to similar attempts of disrupting stability every decade.
كانت فيه محاولات تقريبا في كل 5 سنين 10 سنين فيه محاولات تاع زعزعة الاستقرار والجزائر مؤسساتها بالنضج السياسي تاع المواطنين ما يمشوش في السما راهم شايفين كانوا مروجين انتم تتذكروا رئيس تاع دولة أوروبية قال نكملوا مع سوريا ونتكلفوا بالجزائر.
Algerian president said that Algerian government is aware of the double standards that characterize international relations and even how human rights organizations function. On top of that, having a strong economy and a unified internal social front makes Algeria in a good position to confront any plan aiming at its sovereignty.
Algerian President Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune affirmed Algeria's determination to work to restore what he called its natural diplomatic space, given its experience in facing crisis and the fact that it is a stable country.
أوروبا أثرت فينا وأثرنا فيها، إفريقيا أثرت فينا وأثرنا فيها. الشيء اللي وصلنا ليه في العشرية اللي فاتت c'est le pire des accidents de parcours qu'on ait eu. يعني وصلنا لدرجة اللي ما اليوم أولا شيء متكامل لأن الدبلوماسية تاعك ما تنفع إذا كان عندك قوة اقتصادية. عندك استقرار واضح، عندك رضا نتاع المواطنين، عندك هذه كل تخلي اليوم كل الدول اللي تتعامل معنا معترفة بشيء أن الجزائر تعرف استقرار وتصدر الاستقرار.
In regard to the question regarding Algerian-Italian relations, the Algerian president described Rome as the historical partner which supported Algeria in its darkest economic and diplomatic periods.
عشرية السوداء كل الناس فشوا زعافهم في الجزائر بما فيه الدول شقيقة، ما وجدنا إلا إيطاليا. ضربوا علينا حصار جوي أوروبا بإعاز من رئيس ميتيران، ولا طائرة أوروبية تنزل في الجزائر ما عدا إيطاليا، ومعيا يضغطوا عليها ورفضت. الميناء تاع جيجل قتلوا لها تسع بحارين تاعها باش ينفروها من الجزائر، دفنت البحارين تاعها وما لامتش على الجزائر وقعدت وفيه الجزائر. صندوق النقد الدولي سنة ونص هو يمرمد فينا بلا كونديسيوناليتي نتاعو، حبسوا المطاعم المدرسية، حبس البناء، حبس هذه، نقص الموظفين، لي زو بي جي لغينا 16 او بي جي وما نعرفوهاش وكذا وكذا، وما عطاوناش الا من بعد سنتين، لان هو خدمته يرمي لك الزيت على النار. كل ما هو اجتماعي يطير، يعني باش يزيد يأزم الامور. ايطاليا فتحت لنا 13 مليار دولار لين دو كريدي. ماشي ايطاليا تاع اليوم، امور مستمره.
In regard to the impact of Algeria's relations with other European countries on the rapprochement with Italy, President Tebboune stressed that some European countries were disturbed by the dynamism of the bilateral relations between Algiers and Rome.
اليوم تشوف تقريبا ثلثي المصانع تاع التغذية كلها جاية من إيطاليا، مش من اليوم. جزء من السؤال تاعك هو صح، هادشي ما يعجبش دول أوروبية أخرى. الدول الأوروبية اللي ما زالت بكل سذاجة دارنا باللي الجزائر ستنشاس كاردي. الجزائر حرة في تصرفاتها، حرة في علاقاتها الدولية، حرة في علاقاتها الاقتصادية. مانيش نواجه فيك عمدا باش نقلص من النفوذ تاعك، ولكن مصلحتي أولى من مصلحتك. أنا ندافع على مصلحتي، ما نضادش مصلحتك، ولكن ندافع على مصلحتي، ومصلحتي راها مع إيطاليا.
As a response to the Algerian-American relations, or as a response to the question regarding American relations, President Tebboune emphasized that Washington sees Algeria as a state with an effective political and economic power at the Arab and regional levels, and it is not an adversary to any party and refuses to be politically and ideologically biased.
فيه مسؤولين أمريكيين زاروا الجزائر مؤخراً في حرص أمريكي على ما يبدو على تعزيز العلاقة مع الجزائر. اليوم العالم يتغير، في حرب في أوكرانيا. سؤال لي ربما يطرحه الكثير من المتابعين: ماذا تريد واشنطن من الجزائر، وماذا تريد الجزائر من واشنطن في عام 2023؟
دولة عظمى تكاد تكون القطب الثاني ولا بالنسبة لتسيير العالم، تحاول توسع النفوذ نتاعها وعارفين بلي الجزائر دولة نافذة في افريقيا وفي العالم العربي وفي البحر الابيض المتوسط. انا قلتها في لقاءات اخرى، قلت غير الجزائر اللي مانيش بالقوة نتاعهم. الجزائر قوة اقتصادية، قوة سياسية معروفة. احنا باش طمأنا اصدقاء الامريكان باللي ماناش خصوم تاعهم، وكانوا دائما واقفين معنا. المؤونات اللي كانت تجينا البواخر تاع امريكا كان بدايه الاستقلال ووصلنا. احنا لازم امريكا تتيقن باللي رانا بلد صديق سياسيا ايديولوجيا غير منحاز، لا معاهم ولا مع غيرهم.
Regarding the Libyan crisis, the Algerian president renewed the need to go towards a Libyan solution without external interference, indicating that there is an international consensus on the Algerian approach to go to elections after the failure of all the other initiatives outside this path.
أولاً الطرق القديمة كل جربوها ما مشاتش. إذن لازم إبداع في حل مشكلة الشقيقة ليبيا. أنا من أول وهلة من برلا وأنا نقول الحل يجي من الأشقاء الليبيين. On décide pas à leur place. ما نقررش باللي فلان ليبي صالح وفلان ليبي مش صالح. هذه خطينا احنا. أهل مكة أدرى بشعبها، يعرفوا بعضهم بعض، يعرفوا المناطق، يعرفوا. احنا قلنا باش ما نزيش نغلط كذلك في بعض التعيينات كذا، خلي الشعب الليبي يقرر. السنة الأولى، السنة الثانية، الحمد لله اليوم كل الدول العظمى ماشية مع الجزائر على الانتخابات، خلاص كل قبلوا الانتخابات. بينما لما كنا نقولوا انتخابات كانوا يعتبروها سذاجة. اليوم كاع الناس رجعت للانتخابات. وهذا سبورتاك شو اوبتيميست، لأن الانتخابات هي بداية الحل.
Still with the Libyan file, the United Nations support mission in Libya denied that it had proposed a new initiative to settle the political crisis in the country in response to documents circulated widely on social media. The UN mission confirmed its commitment to work with internal parties to find a Libyan-led solution. To a different topic now, but still in Africa, many Nigerians headed to voting centers to elect their next president amid the numerous struggles in the country that is worsening insecurity and economic hardship. Most of the presidential elections contenders have been in the political system for decades. Here's Salman Asib with more.
Nigeria's outgoing president Muhammadu Buhari is stepping down after nearly 8 years in power, after many Nigerians claim to struggle from high inflation and deadly attacks by gunmen against innocent civilians. On Saturday, Nigerians were due to start voting, with more than 93 million people registered to vote for the next president, as many are hoping that the next leader will steer Africa's most populous nation and biggest economy on a new course after years of worsening violence and hardship.
The officials are yet to come, so we are still waiting on them. And you can see I'm here and everyone else is here. So I'm eager to vote, to cast my votes, to perform my constitutional rights.
One of the total of 18 candidates that are campaigning for the top job, Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party, cast his ballot shortly after polls opened in Yola on Saturday.
Yeah, for now, it looks credible, maybe because I'm involved. The only thing I would like to see is that I would like to see an improvement on the quality of the ballot papers. To me, they look so ordinary.
One of the main contenders to succeed Buhari is the candidate for Nigeria's Labour Party, Peter Obi, who is mounting a challenge against the country's two main rivals for president, cast his vote in the southeast state of Anambra.
Win election is not as easy as people think. It's a burden because you're going to hold the people's trust. It's people now trying to entrust their life with you. So it's a burden. So if God wants me to carry that burden, okay, rejoice. But I think I'll win.
However, today's Nigeria's presidential election was marked by long delays at some polling stations that did not deter large crowds of voters hoping for a reset after years of worsening violence under outgoing President Muhammadu Buhari.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed because they said it will start by 8, and up to now I think it's to 12. We did not start casting our votes. So it's highly disappointed because what we expect is not what we are experiencing now.
Lastly, presidential elections vote counting will begin as soon as polls close and results will be posted outside polling stations. However, the final tally from the 36 states and federal capital Abuja is expected within 5 days of voting.
To Europe now, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is meeting Northern Ireland politicians on Friday as a flurry of diplomacy fueled expectations that a deal to improve the post-Brexit trading arrangements for the province could be done in the upcoming days. Support from the Northern Ireland's largest pro-British party is crucial after it boycotted the region's devolved parliament in protest at the protocol.
We're looking now to the government. We've had the words. We now need to see the action. That's what we're looking for from our government, from our Prime Minister. It's decisive action on the protocol.
United Nations spokesman said on Friday that China's position paper on political settlement of the Ukraine crisis represents an important contribution. China on Friday released a paper stating its position on the political settlement of the Ukraine crisis, saying dialogue and negotiation are the only viable solution to the Ukraine crisis. Still with the same file, EU announced a 10th package of sanctions on Moscow, while US President Joe Biden said that the Western allies are not providing F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine for the moment. Here's Sofian Kenturi.
No, he doesn't need F-16s now.
US President Joe Biden stated in an interview on Friday that his nation is not currently preparing to send F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine because that country is already receiving its needs from military aid from the West, such as tanks and artillery. Biden also stated that the United States and its allies are pushing Ukraine to achieve victories in this conflict so that they can negotiate from a better position in the spring.
Look, we're sending him what our seasoned military thinks he needs now. He needs tanks, he needs artillery, he needs air defense. We have to put the Ukrainians in a position where they can make advances this spring and summer and move to a place where they can negotiate from a position of strength.
Washington announced on the first anniversary of Russia's military operation in Ukraine on Friday that it would provide $2 billion in more weaponry for Kiev as it prepares for a spring offensive. This aid did not include the F-16s that Ukraine requested, while Kiev's international allies are debating whether to provide it or not.
Good afternoon, everybody. In another demonstration of our enduring commitment, earlier today, the Department of Defense announced $2 billion in additional security assistance for Ukraine under the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative.
Meanwhile, the European Union announced a 10th package of sanctions, including the imposition of new restrictions on European exports to Russia worth 11 billion euros, and the freezing of the assets of 3 Russian banks and many entities. The sanctions come in conjunction with China's proposal for a peace plan that Russia welcomed, while the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed his intention to meet with the Chinese President Xi Jinping.
First of all, I plan to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping, and I believe that this will be beneficial for our country and for security in the world. We have a large trade turnover with China. This issue is not only war, but the preservation of economic relations.
Despite parties that are working on peace, Ukrainians say the war can only end by providing the Ukrainian military with everything it needs. However, Russia would have a different point of view on this matter in particular, and the course of the war would definitely change over the coming months.
South Korean lawmakers said on Wednesday that North Korea could test fire intercontinental ballistic missiles on a lower, longer trajectory and conduct its 7th nuclear test this year to perfect its weapons capabilities. According to the lawmakers, Pyongyang might undertake an ICBM test on a normal trajectory to pressure the United States, which has conducted military drills in the region recently and plans more large exercises in the coming months. North Korea's foreign ministry criticized UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres' unreasonable and prejudiced comments on the missile tests. Guterres had condemned the North's latest ICBM launch, urging it to immediately halt further provocative actions.
North Korea's ICBMs have not been launched at a normal angle so far, but the intelligence authority is seeing that North Korea has all the capabilities and seems to be preparing a timeline to boost the pressure effect on the United States. There is a possibility for a 7th test which would be essential to complete the miniaturization, a lightening of a weight of nuclear bombs.
The death toll from the earthquakes in Turkey and Syria that struck on February 6th reached 50,000 on Friday after Turkey declared more than 44,000 people died. Investigations have been launched against more than 600 people in relation to buildings that collapsed in Turkey's catastrophic earthquake earlier this month, a government official said on Saturday.
Despite the fact that we have gathered perhaps one of largest search and rescue teams to the region with more than 141,000 members, unfortunately, it's a fact that we have not been able to respond as fast as we hoped.
Moving on now to a different matter, leaders of the Pacific Island Forum, PIF, have expressed deep concern about Japan's decision to dump contaminated water of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant into the Pacific Ocean. The two-day Pacific Islands Forum Special Leaders Retreat 2023 concluded in Adi, the third largest conurbation in Fiji, on Friday to discuss topics including how to strengthen regional solidarity and address climate change-related issues. United States President Joe Biden has directed federal agencies to go door-to-door in East Palestine, Ohio, to check on families affected by the toxic train derailment that has switched into a heated political controversy. Under Biden's order on Friday, teams from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the Federal Emergency Management Agency started visiting homes on Saturday. Peru's President Dina Boluarte announced the return of the country's ambassador in Mexico in response to comments from her Mexican counterpart, branding her government as unconstitutional. Boluarte said the remarks made earlier on Friday by Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador about her administration go against the international right to non-interference.
Rechazo enérgicamente las expresiones formuladas hoy.
I strongly reject the expressions made by President of Mexico on Peru's internal affairs and the unacceptable questions he has repeatedly asked about the constitutional and democratic origin of my government. Mr. Lopez has decided to support the coup d'etat that the now former President Pedro Castillo carried out on December 7, 2022.
And for more news making headlines around the globe, here is the news in brief by Islam Sid this time.
A slow-moving winter storm strengthened over California, triggering the first blizzard warning in parts of Los Angeles area in 30 years. Several roads were covered with snow. This rare sight was welcomed with excitement by many of the residents of the town, whose scenery usually consists of dry hilltops, heat and blue skies. El Salvador's government transferred hundreds of alleged gang members to the newly opened mega prison, which is considered as the largest in the Americas. This move is the latest in crackdown on crime that has seen a dramatic increase in the country of Central America's prison population. Airplanes and firefighters continued their efforts to contain a wildfire that swept through a wooded area in eastern Cuba. According to local media, the fire started a week ago, and at least 1,300 hectares have been consumed by the flames. No human casualties have been reported so far. Thousands of people demonstrated in Berlin against arming Ukraine amid a large police presence to maintain order. The demonstration came a day after a one-year anniversary of the war in Ukraine, which drew promises of more weapons from Western allies, fresh sanctions against Russia, and shows of support for Kiev across the globe.
And finally, and on a lighter note, on the Adamant, a documentary about a floating daycare center in Paris for adults with mental illness clinched the Berlin Film Festival's Golden Bear Award on Saturday. Its director, Nicolas Philibert, said he was deeply touched by the jury's decision to award the Berlinale's top prize to a documentary rather than a work of fiction.
I have always fought for it to be seen as such. In this film, shot in psychiatry, on the adamant, we do not always distinguish very clearly.
Well, that's it for today's news. For more, you can always visit our social media platforms. From me and the rest of the English team, thank you for watching, and bye for now.